A cultural presentation on Poland. Poland is a country with a total of 38 million people. It's bordered by Germany to the west, the Czech Republic and Slovak Republic to the south, Ukraine and Belarus to the east, and Lithuania and the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad to the north. The diversity of Poland has fluctuated over time due to the volatile nature of Europe over the past couple of centuries, including both World War I and II. The culture of Poland today, including its cuisine, has had many influences from its surrounding neighbours, as well as other areas in Europe such as Italy and France. In total, the Polish people make up approximately 0.5% of the total global population. After World War II, there were two distinct waves of Polish-born immigrants arriving in Australia. The first wave was between 1947 and 1954, and the number of Polish residents increased eightfold from around 7,000 people to 56,500 people. The second wave occurred between 1980 and 1990, where 15,500 Polish immigrants arrived in Australia. The Polish population in Australia reached an all-time high in 1991, with the population reaching 68,500 people. This number has steadily decreased since then, falling to 52,000 by the 2005 census, and continuing to decline at a rate of 2% per year since then.
The dominant factors which influence Polish people's food choices will be split into two categories, these categories being a posteriori and a priori. In other words, their habits are not only born out of the amalgam of individual experiences, but also out of shared experience. For example, the use of an a posteriori structure would constitute everything which the individual experiences firsthand, for example, food prices or quality, whereas the use of an a priori structure would include everything which is not experienced by the individual but is assumed, most likely through group knowledge. Cultural, social, traditional, and celebratory eating are examples of this. This categorization is necessary due to the interrelated and causal relationships of all mentioned factors. These factors are so closely aligned it would be erroneous to discuss individual factors departed from their interrelations. In discussing the a posteriori determinants which influence food consumption, sensory nature and price are strong components. Individuals in Poland had a proclivity, first and foremost, for consuming foods of a high sensory nature, this closely followed by the price. A further influence upon the consumption of food in Poland is the complicated and archaic manifestation of modern Europe. The liberalization of markets in 1989 caused food prices in Poland to rise, which in turn resulted in food and nutrient consumption to decline. Furthermore, despite more than half of the land in Poland being used for farming, there is still a particularly low yield compared to other parts of the world. This is caused in part by Poland's geographic location, with a lack of rainfall and poor soil quality, as well as low temperatures and reduced amounts of sun exposure. This explains Polish people's inclination towards hearty meals high in meat and dairy. These environmental factors play into the price of food, as there is a greater need for imported goods. This suggests that when populations have economic freedom, they are far more likely to make decisions based on sensory nature of the food rather than the price, and will make decisions based on price if economic freedom is not obtained. Moreover, in examining the research, it can be suggested that choices in food consumption are relative to economic situation. The a priori structure which influences food consumption in Poland is strongly aligned with their national identity. Poles' eating habits are strongly influenced by their traditional celebrations of culture, season, and religious events. Studies have consistently shown that food is an ethnic marker, and as such provides a sense of belonging through ritualistic food consumption, this meaning that people would feel more Polish through the consumption of traditional foods. Furthermore, as the predominant religion in Poland is Catholicism, the traditional foods often coincide with their religious celebrations. This is shown through the consumption of traditional Polish products increasing during the Christian holidays of Easter and Christmas, thus suggesting that Poles are inclined to have their cuisine as an ethnic marker. Some examples of traditional Polish dishes which are common during traditional celebration include pierogi, ponchi, and fawoki. This suggests that Polish people's a priori structure is strongly based around their sense of Polishness through cultural, social, traditional, and celebratory meals. The Polish cuisine is as diverse as the factors which influence it, and as such presents a roadmap to ensuring a best practice approach when improving Polish people's eating habits.
Polish people love their food. Their dishes are often large in size, rich in meat and dairy, and packed full of flavour using a variety of vegetables, pickles, and spices. Meat contributes to about 20% of the total energy intake in the average Polish diet and contributes to just over 40% of the total protein intake. The most commonly eaten meat products are pork, chicken, and processed meats such as sausage, ham, and salami. However, organ meats and some seafoods are also consumed. Pork plays a culturally significant role in the Polish diet, and the pig is considered an animal of special meaning, dating back to the time when living self-sufficiently off the land was both highly valued and necessary. The main vegetables used in Polish cuisine are potatoes, cabbage, tomato, cucumber, red beetroot, mushroom, carrot, and onion. Fruits typically play a smaller role in the Polish cuisine, generally only used in desserts or to sweeten dishes. However, modern Poles sometimes like to include seasonal fruits with their breakfast, and stewed fruit is usually included in a traditional Polish dinner. Grains, such as wheat, rye, and barley, are some of the main agricultural crops grown in Poland, and as such play a central role in Polish cuisine. Grains can be made into a variety of dishes, such as galabki and sour rye soup, zurek, but the main food product made from grain is bread. Bread is culturally significant to the Polish people because during times of economic hardship, bread was a cheap and substantial source of sustenance. Every year, festivals are held around the country, showcasing and celebrating the tradition of making bread. To add a layer of depth and flavour to their dishes, Polish people add a variety of pickles, spices, and accompaniments. Pickled cucumbers and gherkins are popular additions, as well as sauerkraut, which is fermented cabbage, and pickled herring. The primary spices used are marjoram, dill, caraway, parsley, and pepper. Polish people also like to add a big dollop of sour cream to their dishes, which adds an extra richness to their meals. People in Poland generally have their first meal of the day, śniadanie, around 6 to 8 a.m. This meal is quite substantial compared to the Western diet and can include anything from sausages, eggs, bread, oatmeal or cereal with milk, to open-faced sandwiches, cold cuts of meats and cheese, pickled vegetables, or marinated herring. Seasonal fruits and vegetables are also eaten during the warmer months of the year, and like Western breakfasts, this meal is usually accompanied by a cup of strong tea or coffee. The second meal of the day, drugie śniadanie, is usually consumed around 11 a.m. It consists of more bread, sausages, open-faced sandwiches, pastries, and snacks such as dried sausage or hard-boiled eggs, anything that is easy to consume on the go. Obiad is the third meal of the day and is generally the largest. It's usually eaten around 2 to 3 p.m. right after people finish school or work and consists of a soup to start, a main dish, and sometimes a dessert. Most main dishes consist of one type of meat with a side serving of potato or rice and, of course, bread. Salads and buckwheat groats are also common side dishes. Milk bars are a common place for Polish people to eat this meal and are a relic from socialist Poland. These cafeterias were set up to provide cheap, nutritious, and substantial meals for the workers of a certain area, with meals generally consisting of vegetables and dairy. Although many milk bars closed down after the fall of communism in the 1990s, they have since made a resurgence and are again a popular place for Poles to eat their main meal of the day. After an evening snack around 5 p.m., supper is the final meal of the day. This meal is generally light and closely resembles the meal eaten at breakfast. On special occasions though, like birthdays or religious holidays, this can change, and big meals can carry on late into the evening. A few of the traditional dishes found in Polish cuisine include pierogi, which is boiled or fried sweet or savory dumplings, galabki, boiled cabbage leaves stuffed with meat, vegetables, and grains, served in a rich tomato sauce, bigos, also known as hunter's stew, which is made from meat and vegetables, soups such as barash, made from beetroot, flaki, made from tripe, and zurek, made from fermented rye flour and water, kielbasa and kaszana, Polish sausage and blood sausage, pączki, a sweet-filled donut typically eaten on the last Thursday before Lent, and szlalota, which is a spiced apple cake.
More people from all over the world have moved to Australia in recent years. People are coming from continents all over the world to join Australia's for its heats and tropics. Because of this, we can explore a lot of different food from different cultures that we would not have in our hometown. It's always fun to try out a new taste of food and get to know other cultures better. Even though you are moving to a new place, it can be difficult to find the food you used to make in a kitchen at home. Some will find it difficult to eat new food and then will drop a meal day because it's hard to find a new food you will like. Maybe people are busy after moving to a new place and don't have time to prepare food. Some of the meals will greatly change. Meals who change first are often the smallest meals, like snacks, additional food, and meals eating outside of home. After that, the breakfast will be eating on the go, and lunch are going from warm to cold. Dinner is the meal who change lasted because of the tradition and community with family associated with it. Economy has a lot of say in what people can buy in the supermarket. Healthy food are often more expensive food, so rich people can offer more healthy food. They might have more opportunities to make food from their hometown. In Australia, there are some Polish restaurants you can visit if you're looking for Polish food. I think everyone can find food that is similar to the food back home if you look carefully. But it's still not the same because the taste is different and the food sometimes look different. Australia have most of the food like meat and vegetables which can be used in Polish cooking. But something can be difficult to find like niche products such as pickled herring and bakery items. This can be substituted with similar products found here. A couple from Sydney tells about which food they still eat from Poland. They like to eat something called placki, which is a sweet pancake snacks made out of potatoes and onions. They also like another snacks made of orange peel and sugar. The last snacks was easy to make in Australia because they have an orange tree outside their house. The couple have written their own cookbook for Polish food, so they have a lot of food they can make together at home. In the cookbook, they have collected traditional Polish food and memories they have from their hometown. Today, so many as 20 million Polish people live outside of Poland, and the couple's first book, Rosa Petal Gem, was really popular for Polish people living outside of Poland. The couple sold over 20,000 copies in the first year. The plan is to give out 4 more books, one for every season.
The Australian Guideline to Healthy Eating consists of a variety of nutritious food from 5 different food groups. Group 1 is grain foods, Group 2 is vegetables and legumes and beans, Group 3 is lean meats and poultry, fish, eggs, tofu, nuts and seeds. Group 4 is milk, yogurt, cheese and alternatives, mostly reduced fat, and Group 5 is fruits. They also have 2 small undergroups that you should only use in small amounts or only sometimes and in small amounts, like soft drinks, oil, burgers and sweets. The Australian Guidelines says you should enjoy a variety of nutritious foods from these 5 main groups every day. It's especially from the guideline number 2 that we find similarities between the Polish food and the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating. The traditional Polish breakfast often includes bread, butter, cheese, ham and eggs. This meal has whole grain bread, lean meat, eggs and cheese, which is recommended to eat in the Australian Guidelines. The other meals of the day seems to consist of a large variety of different vegetables, including different types and colors. This is also something that's recommended to eat according to the Australian Guidelines. Some of the differences between the Australian Guidelines and the Polish food is that the big parts of the Polish meals consist of processed meat, including bacon and sausage. This is food that the Australian dietary guidelines recommend you limit the intake of. The Polish food seems to consist of a lot of food fried in butter or oil, and this is also something that should be limited. According to the Australian Guidelines, they have found association between poor eating habits and health problems like chronic diseases like heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. This is why food that are high in saturated fats, added sugar, added salt, or alcohol should be limited. It's said that the Poles love their vodka, and only the Russians drink more. The Poles often drink vodka on holidays, special occasions, and other regular days. According to the Australian Guidelines, alcohol is high in kilojoules, is nutrient poor, and can lead to weight gain. Alcohol can be harmful to your health, and the more alcohol you drink, the greater the risk. Even small amounts of alcohol are associated with increased risk of some cancers. Too much alcohol may also damage the liver and brain and increase the risk of high blood pressure and heart disease. So alcohol should be limited or not consumed at all.